You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. Calls have been a little sparse, so I've waited until they kind of built up a little bit. Appreciate all the callers. We are a week away from the draft, so I'm excited to hear from you guys and hear what you're thinking, who your prospects are, et cetera, et cetera. If you're going to the draft, we do have some apparel. I don't know if it'll be there in time at this point, but if you are going to the draft, feel free to grab some of that stuff. I'm planning on doing some more after, with the guys that we draft and whatnot. Definitely lost money on the shirt designs because I bought one for me and my son. Hasn't shown up. He doesn't even know I did it. I don't even know if he's going to wear it. Probably not. It's stupid, but I think it's funny. Anyways, again, appreciate all the calls. Let's get started first and foremost with Drew. What's up, Drew?
Hey, Ryan, that's Drew from Green Bay.
What's up?
Calling from the shop, which is the lobby of Animal Rescue this time,
All right.
so that I'm not right by the dogs, so you can't hear them. But I just wanted to talk about the wide receivers a little bit. Basically, if you look at Golden is probably the best one, and if we took him in the first round, I guess I'd be okay with it. But if you really look at, does he compare to Justin Jefferson or a guy like that, even as a prospect, not as, what he turned out to be, he's not even close, in my opinion. And if you look at the other wide receivers, they're all worth, the only one that would interest me, I guess, Ted, the thing about him is he's got such a huge catch radius, like OBJ on steroids, basically. That's what I love about him, and I'm hoping you can teach him the rest. So I would be interested in him. I'd be happy about getting him. But any of these other guys, I'm just looking at them, and I'm like, they don't really stack up. There's nothing special about them. You look at the Ohio State wide receiver, and is he better than Olave? Is he better than the kid that went to Seattle? No, he is the worst of all of them. And all of the Ohio State wide receivers that won the first round turned out to be pretty average. They're not lighting the league on fire. So why do we want to take a wide receiver that's worse than average? Average wide receiver 1? You're looking at a wide receiver 2 in the first round, no take. How does that solve our problems? Our problems are we have wide receiver 2s, not wide receiver 1s. So that's why I'm really not interested in these guys in the first round. Unless it's McMillan. He's got some qualities you just can't teach, range, you know what I mean? And catch radius. But anyways, also I want to remind you to, let's keep that game flowing so we can finish it up before the draft, hopefully. And next year, I think it'd be awesome to do the same thing, but do it before free agency so we're not influenced by what guys actually got.
Yeah.
Doing that after free agency, everybody can kind of see what the kind of market was on them already. So even subconsciously, it's going to influence us. But I enjoyed the game a lot. Anyways, have a good one. Bye.
So, a couple things. First of all, maybe a little harsh on the Ohio State receivers. If you look at the top 32 receivers this year, calling them number ones, in that group included Jackson Smith and Jigba of Ohio State, Chris Olave of Ohio State, Garrett Wilson of Ohio State, and Marvin Harrison from Ohio State. So are they top 5, top 10? No, but all of them were top 32 wide receivers. All of them are better than the receivers that we currently have. They're all number ones. Marvin Harrison even, it was his rookie year, And it was certainly less than what people were expecting. But for a rookie to have a 77 receiving grade, one drop on the season, and plenty of room to grow and possibly get better next year. Garrett Wilson had his best year as a rookie and is still, again, he's top 20-ish. Chris Olave is, for 3 straight years, his grades have been 80s. He's actually a pretty solid receiver. He missed about half the year this past year, but still had an 82 grade, which is about what he has every year. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, he might be a freaking superstar because he was ranked 17th among wide receivers. He didn't even get started until week 8. He was grading out in the 50s for 7 weeks. He had one good game and was in the 50s for 7 weeks and then just freaking lit the league on fire. So, if you look at the second half of the season, I'm not going to, he probably was certainly a top 10 wide receiver. So maybe a little harsh on the Ohio State guys. I think they've been quite good, but I get what you're saying if he's the worst, which remember, Jackson Smith-Njigba was kind of similar. He was supposedly this big hot shot, and then he just really fell in the draft, and he ended up going somewhere in the 20s. And again, I would guess that ended up being a mistake, and people undervalued him. I didn't even care for him when I really watched him, so I that's my hesitation with I can't. I get Njigba stuck in my head. The guy from this year, it's very similar. He's fallen into the 20s. I like him. I don't love him, but I just see it as he's similar to Njigba. It's also kind of a, again, you got the Amon-Ra St. Brown, like it's kind of becoming a thing with these guys. Kind of these bigger slot, I don't know. I'm not sure. The other problem that I have is I agree with you that there's none that are really even slam dunks. You can include Tetaroa McMillan. He probably is the one slam dunk, as in, like, I would take him in the first round. The problem is I've now gone through corners, I've gone through edge rushers, I've gone through defensive tackles. I don't think I've found a single slam dunk. Probably more so among the edge rushers, but for tomorrow's podcast, we do defensive tackle. I like some of the defensive tackles. I don't know that I love any of them as first-round prospects. Any of them. Including Walter Nolan, including the Michigan guy and Harmon. I just can't get there. Now, I'm all in on every single one of these guys in the second round. Some of these guys I'm gushing over, but I don't know about, honestly, there's like one guy that's a late second rounder that would maybe be at the top of my list as far as who I'd want in the first round, because you have to be able to rush the passer, and I just don't see that with a lot of these guys. The production is garbage for all of them, except Harmon, who really didn't have any sacks, but, at least he had pressures for 1 year. So, yeah, I think that's sort of the case with this class. There's an unbelievable amount of great second-round talent, starting mid-first round, probably going late into the third round. That's where you want to, maximize your picks. But as far as who do you want in the first round, it's just not great pickings. If you're picking top 5, you probably got some great options. After that, everybody's going to want to trade back, and nobody's going to be able to, except for a couple lucky teams trading out to somebody wants to come up and secure Shedeur Sanders or something along those lines. But yeah, I just think that's the nature of it, man. I'm not slam dunk sold on really anybody at this point, and I'm gonna tomorrow go back through the wide receivers. There's a couple that I'm really interested in. I want to watch Higgins very closely because I know, you mentioned him, and Packer Superfan has talked about him. I know Aaron Nagler has talked about him. There's a large contingent, and maybe it's because guys like Nagler talk about it, I'm not really sure, but there's a large contingent of Packer fans that are real big on him, so I want to take a close look. But even, again, the amount of guys that are just slam dunk second-round studs, like you said, Matthew Golden, I don't know, maybe he's a great first-rounder, slam dunk second-rounder, Trey Harris, freaking automatic slam dunk, Iomanner, Higgins. I mean, these guys are just primo second-round prospects. But, you have a higher standard for first round of how many boxes I expect you to check, and these guys don't have it. That doesn't mean they can't become superstars, but I'm just saying, I get what you're saying. The problem is that's just the situation we're in. And, maybe that will facilitate a trade up if there are guys like McMillan and the Packers believe that he is that guy. Because again, if you don't get in that tier of guys, the corner, Michigan corner, forgetting his name, terrible with names, you just forgive me. If you're a team that says this guy's a slam dunk and he falls, that's a guy you trade up for. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on McMillan. I think he's solid. He's probably a step ahead of a lot of these guys, but there's a serious lack of speed that can be concerning. Doesn't have to be. Maybe it's an overblown thing. Devontae doesn't have speed, and a lot of these guys, DeAndre Hopkins didn't have any speed. These are all 4 or 5 guys, and they're some of the best in football. In fact, during the time of DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams, like when those guys were at the top, you look at the top 10 receivers, they're all 4 or 5 guys. It's not really the case anymore, but I'm just saying, that there for every single person that I've looked at, there's always something that makes me go, man, that really scares me. And some of these guys are going to be superstars, and you're going to look back and think that was really stupid to be scared about that because you knew he was a stud. But the reality is it's not stupid because most of them are going to fail because of the very obvious flaws that we saw going in. So it's really just a big gamble. It's, do you believe in the vision? Do you believe that they're going to compensate enough, or it's not going to be a hindrance, or we can still use them? McMillan is going to be fine the way he runs routes, how smooth he is in his hands and all. It's not going to be a problem. If you believe in that vision and how it fits with your offense, do it. But then again, you got him saying on film, I don't watch tape. You can say that was overblown if you want. I listen to the words come out of his face hole, okay? If I'm at home grinding tape, at no point and in no context am I going to say, I don't really watch tape. Watch tape. You don't say that because it's not true, because I watch a lot of tape. You know who there's no film of saying I don't watch tape? Jade Barron. Zero tapo. Because he wouldn't say that, because he watches a lot of tape all the time, not just when he's required to in meetings. All right. It's been a while since I had calls, so I'm chatty. Daniel from California.
Hey, Ryan, Dennis from California. There's a lot of, stuff going around, but we suck at drafting, and, we are horrible in the first round, and the only thing I got to say is, Andrew Cooper, that guy. I don't care if we miss every pick in this draft. That guy is going to freaking be the captain on our team, and that guy is freaking amazing. He just looks different. Whatever you guys want to say about anybody we've drafted or anybody that we're going to draft, all I got to say is Andrew Cooper. That guy. I was just thinking about, that guy, pregame, walking out to freaking flip a coin, man. That guy's so freaking good. I'm all pumped. Oh, wow.
Well, and I think it's an important pick because that's what I've been saying has been missing. Gutekunst has nailed a bunch of good players. We haven't had any great players. Well, Edgerrin is starting to look like he might be one of the great players. He's one of those. He'll be a top 10 at his position probably most years, at least I hope. Anything's possible. He could fall off or whatever the case may be. I really hope not, or the injury bug, knock on wood, whatever. But he does feel different, and I'm very hesitant to ever trust it because I see these guys do well for a brief period and then they fall off. He didn't. He was just good, and that's what good players do. They're just good all the time. Like Devontae was just good. I mean, it took him a while to get there, but still, once he was good, he was just good. And I'm starting to feel a lot more confident that that's what's going to be the situation here. And if it is, again, that's important because Gutekunst needed that under his belt to get one of those guys.
We got no holes on this team. Yeah, we have positions that we want to raise the talent level, specifically D-line, corner, receiver, but we're not the worst. I wouldn't even say at a lot of these positions we're bottom third. But yeah, we have room for improvement. But teams aren't as well rounded as we are. So be optimistic. Take best player available, even if it's random positions that we don't need. I just want good football players. If they see somebody that could be a Edgerrin Cooper, and it's just let's just take that guy because this guy's really good. It's yeah, that makes sense. And I don't want to draft guys based on what we need. I want guys that can go and win a starting job,
Exactly.
or guys that are gonna replace they're going to battle for a starting job and just raise the competition level. So, but we're not doing bad. I'm really confident in Goody. Everybody wants to bash Goody, but I'm a Goot licker, so go Pecco.
Well, and that's where that really comes from, and I've been saying more recently, is at the end of the day, I don't care about the position. I just want great players. Edgerrin Cooper's another great example of that. Nobody's, I mean, maybe some miserable person is saying it, but nobody's really out there saying, I don't care that he's great because who cares about linebackers? That's not a thing that people are saying, because he's a great player and we're all excited about it. We love Edgerrin Cooper. Now, yes, if it was an Edgerrin Cooper, but he also happened to be an edge rusher, would that be more valuable? Yes, it would. But I would take an elite linebacker over a mediocre to not great anything any day of the week. So if you have an opportunity, if you genuinely believe you're bored that this guy is on another tier, he's on another level, he has that ability to get up here, it's all a gamble. You never actually know who's going to be good and who's not. But, I mean, if you have reason to believe that this is a legit thing, then trust your board and get those players, because that's what we need, our top-tier players. You have to have them. And we've had that in the past, not too long ago. I just think that we lost our premier players. We lost Rodgers, which I know Love is still there, and I'm hopeful we need him to be that guy again. But we lost Rodgers, we lost Devontae, we lost Bakhtiari. I mean, these are premier players, and even some of the guys that we had that were premier, like we had Za'Darius and Rashawn and Preston. Well, Preston's gone, and Za'Darius is gone, and Rashawn had a little bit of a downfall, and we're hoping that he can come back, but I don't really know. We'll see. But that's a big loss. And, Jair. Jair was another great player. We had one of the top corners in football. Well, now we're probably going to be losing him. So we had a massive outflux of premier players, and we have to replace those. We did a great job of backfilling with good players, but I just think first of all, you have to have a quarterback. Everything revolves around Jordan. But I think maybe if you have that, you don't have to have other things, but it really is going to help if you can add a premier something. Right now, I think we have linebacker. I'm hopeful that we have quarterback. I'm hopeful that Rashawn can get back to it like he did the second half of this past year. We got to, hopefully keep adding. I mean, we got Xavier McKinney and we got a running back. I think those are also top of the position premier guys. Add Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker. So we're doing some things here. I would like Zach Tom. I think you can add him at tackle. So pending some guys taking a step forward, we're doing okay. But I would like to add, I do think receiver is a big one. Not only will that help Jordan get to where we want him to be, but just that pairing of elite quarterback and elite wide receiver, as Packer fans, we know how valuable that is and how freaking awesome it is to root for a team that has that. So fingers crossed on that. And again, from, what Drew's talking about, I get it. I don't know who's going to be there, but at the same time, there's so many guys that have real potential from first through second and even probably beyond. I mean, there are guys that you look that are, outside of the top 100, and it's like, I don't know, dude. There might be something here. And I think it just becomes more of a gamble because for everybody, there's a question of here's the positives, here's the negatives. Here are the things that we think that they're going to be able to translate, and if they do, he's going to be awesome. Here are the concerns that we hope we can either coach them or this, that, or the other. And I think essentially all you're doing is first round is people that have way more positives that you hope will translate and very few negatives. And in the later rounds, it's just more difficult because you have guys that have more things that need to be overcome. So it's just less likely, but it can still happen, and it does happen. It's all just gambling. It's all just betting on the positive tools and mitigating some of the negatives. We can use him in our offense a different way where he doesn't need to do X, Y, and Z, and we think we can coach up this, that, or the other. And and if that pans out, doesn't matter where he's drafted. He's going to be great. But that's the game, man. That is the game. All right, let's take a break. We got Omar on the other side.
What's going on? Omar the Firefighter. How y'all doing? Just calling because I'm starting to change how I feel about the first round. For at least the last month, I've been real hard on the wide receiver,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like we need a legitimate number one. And McMillan, I was like so high on, like I wanted to be him. And then I was like, all right, McMillan or Golden. You know, because people saying Golden could be the best receiver. My GPS stopped. Sorry. I feel like Golden could be the, best receiver in the draft. So I was like, either one of those two. But the more and more we go on, knowing other positions that we need, I'm kind of hoping that Johnny Barron is who we draft.
Yeah.
He's available or we trade up or whatever. Because him winning the Jim Thorpe Award, like, there's not that many corners in the draft. Like, we can get Trey Harris or Royals or something in the second round. We can get a receiver that can play good. But how many cornerbacks can we get that'll start and be good cornerbacks?
Right.
In the second or third round, So, I know the guy you talked about, I forgot his name, said he had injury concerns, and we dropped him down. He took him off your board. We might could get him in the second round, be less of a risk. But as far as, like, legitimate shutdown corners, like, it's not out the first round. It's going to be super hard to find. First, receiver in the second. You know what I'm saying? Third round. So, especially with our coach, we scheming them open. So, I'm kind of like Johnny Barron, the two wide receivers, two top wide receivers, Golden or McMillan, and be happy with that. I feel like D-line is deep, so we might get lucky and get like a Nick Scott in the second or second. So I'm kind of feeling like my needs are shifting because really it's like you want to go for what's rarest, good and rarest first, and then go to what you can find later. So Anyway, hope I go. Tell me what you think about that. All right, bye.
Well, that was kind of what I was saying in the podcast for tomorrow is, when I look at defensive tackle, it's like I would be really happy if we got any of these guys in the second round. I like almost all of them that we looked at for tomorrow. Some of them maybe even a little more than first-round picks. The problem is I'm saying that about everybody. It's like, well, I don't know about first round, but second-round corner would be great, So, yeah, I do get that, and I think you got to maybe look at what are we not going to be able to get later. And corner maybe is that, I say that kind of jokingly as far as, get them later in the second round, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the second-round corners as much. Defensive tackle for sure, wide receiver for sure. Edge, I don't know. There are some edges that I like, although I'm kind of torn on that one a little bit. That may be, and obviously if I'm trying to think like how Gutekunst thinks, you think about the value and the amount of edges and all that kind of stuff. If we're thinking in those terms, edge is maybe the direction I'm going. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just more critical of corner. I don't really know. I don't remember watching a lot of corners and going, oh man, we're going to be like, there's this third round guy that I like, and there's this fourth round guy. It's just kind of, you're either like really good at it, or in my opinion, you just kind of suck. So, it's a tough position, man. You just can't make mistakes when you're a corner. You make a mistake and get burned for a touchdown. It's one mistake, but you suck, and I'm going to hate you for the rest of the game. And nobody's going to forget that for the rest of the week about how you got burned, and probably several weeks for some people who have a hard time letting things go. It's a tough position, man. So I don't know. I'm like you. I'm all over the place. I don't know what to think. 1 minute I want a receiver. Next minute I think we should go edge, and then it's we should defensive tackles are kind of the best value in that spot. And I don't know, man. But again, that's kind of why I'm trying to go over everybody and at least seeing the vision. I'll have my pet favorites, but I'm trying to do something different this year rather than saying, here's my 4 guys I'm obsessed with and hopefully we win the lottery and they pick my guy. Kind of going from the let's try to find a way to like everybody, or at least, like I said, understand the vision of it, and just kind of go from there, I guess. I don't know. That way I can't super be let down and watch them draft somebody that was like a third-round prospect this year just to spite me.
It was one of my firefighter calling back again because I forgot to mention something previously. I watched PFF have a top 15, I think. Top 15, top 12, I can't remember. It just came out, so it's recent. Probably by the time you play this. Wide receiver list, right? And the only reason I'm bringing it up and would suggest y'all to watch, well, actually two. One, so you can kind of hear what they say of who's good, who could be a number one. They did mention some people who are not top wide receivers that could turn into number ones, so I like that. But the most important part was there were 4 Green Bay Packer wide receiver being talked about. One of them was not on the team anymore, but the rest, well, it might have been 4 or 5. It was a lot. It was either like 4, and then one was not on the team anymore, but they used to play for us, or it was 5 name drops and one was not, and 4 of them was on the team and one doesn't play for us anymore. It was something like that, but I thought it was pretty interesting and pretty cool that our wide receivers are special enough to get comps and name drops for. Some for good reasons, some for bad reasons. But please watch it just to hear, because when I was watching it, I hear him say that, I was like, you damn right, that's how we feel. That's exactly how we feel about that guy. Or, yeah, that guy is similar, you know. It was just funny that they kept doing that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, they even talked about him. It was just interesting, I thought. And so a lot of us are worried about or thinking about the wide receivers and how that's going to work out. So I've been really watching every single thing I can about these wide receivers. And like I said in my previous call, we might, you know, even though I want to get one in the first, but if the top 2 guys aren't there, it's like if we can't get Golden, we can get the other guy from Texas. I don't know why I forgot his name. We actually did a visit.
Yep.
Was
I know
it
you're talking
Bond,
about.
I think. That's fast too. So it's like, all right, we couldn't get Golden. We got no wide receiver that's fast. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we couldn't get, you know, McMillan, but we got another wide receiver. We got Trey Harris in the second, you know, or Higgins. So it's like I don't mind us not getting one in the first, even though I'm like, ooh, I hope we get this guy. It's like I'm okay. I just want us to leave out here, literally in the first round, with a starter, a good starter. And in the second round, I want a starter, a good starter.
Yep.
And third round, maybe find somebody that could
he's gonna
develop
suck.
into a starter.
He's going to be terrible.
That's my hope. And then everybody else is like rolling of the dice. Let's see what we can get. So anyway, go.
Yeah, I'm similar. I'm going to be greedy this year. I'd like, of the first 2 rounds, a decent starter and an Edgerrin Cooper type. In the third round, I expect him to be complete dog crap, garbage. In the 4th round, I would like him to do a Gutekunst Ted Thompson thing and find one of those 4th round studs. That would be wonderful if you could do that. And then, after that, it's pretty wide open. If there's a contributor or 2 in there, that's cool, you know? So, as greedy as I am on the front end, I figure I'll cut you some slack on the back end. I don't really expect anything from anybody else. Not that I ever really do, but I'm going to be greedy this year, man. You know, we're kind of on the cusp of being a great team. We're on the cusp of being a terrible team. Some of that has to do with the guys that are already on the team and whether they develop or what. But part of that is just we need to start getting some dogs, you know, and that's on Gutekunst to start getting some of those guys. I'm on the cusp of Gutekunst too. I'm a proud Gutlicker, have been for a long time, and I don't want to have to rescind that. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. So I'm hopeful for even last year's crop. We got a bunch of guys from last year that showed a lot of potential. Some guys that were injured and didn't really get to play. So you know, we'll see how she goes. But I'm gonna be a little bit greedy this year, I think. All right, let's take a break. We got a couple calls from Kyle from Madison.
Ryan, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Mike?
Kyle from Madison. How are you?
Good.
So I don't know if, I fell asleep listening to you or what exactly happened. Maybe just Packernet's on my brain all the time.
Okay.
Which, if that's true, then all your marketing efforts are working, I guess.
Yes.
But I had a dream last night that You were doing a live stream on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was huge. It was like just massive.
Uh-huh.
You were so excited. You had thousands of concurrent viewers. You were losing your mind. It was just you on the stream. And then, you know how dreams just lack context.
Sure.
But you just know something's happening. I'm assuming it was like the draft pick was coming in or something, but it was like the penultimate moment of your Packernet career to this point. Thousands of people watching, something about to happen. And then your daughter walks in and it's like, just needs something, is kind of like losing her mind. I don't know. And you're doing your best to not like freak out. You're like gritting your teeth, trying to get through it. I woke up just laughing, both at the nonsense and the randomness of it, but also like the realness of that. Like that's Murphy's Law too. Like, I don't know, somewhere in my subconscious, I guess I recognized the humor and the realness and everything, but I don't know. I thought I'd share that because, you know, I hope you have a couple thousand concurrent streamers at once, and, you know, that's probably what would happen, but I had to laugh, man. Talk to you later.
See, now you guys are going to start pushing me to doing a live stream. I already told my son, I think we're going to take it easy this year. I was thinking about we could do a chat, like a live chat thing during the draft on Patreon or not on, what is it called? Whatever it's called. Do something like that, you know, so we can still interact and whatnot, but it's not as stressful and I can kind of just do whatever I want. And it also would help for the podcast. We can reference things we talked about and questions and all that kind of stuff. But boy, we have a couple more people, and don't you freaking people call and lie to me, but we get a couple people calling in going, I had that same dream. I'm just saying. So, you know, I'm going to be all superstitious about it and be like, man, we're going to have to do this. But I don't want to. Okay? I want to take this year off. It makes me sad because I've done it every year. But at the same time, the thought of just being able to kick my feet up and relax, and I'm not glued to like this chair for a shocking amount of hours. I mean, round one is what, 4-ish? Round two is like 4 or 5-ish or something. And then day 3 is just the most grueling thing in the world. It helps when you got a crew and whatnot with Clayton and the boys and all that kind of stuff. It helps. You can kind of pass things off and walk away whenever you want. But doing it solo, it's rough. And I don't want to do it this year, I don't think so. We'll freaking see. There is a part of me that, like, when the draft is happening, I'm going to be like, bro, I'm missing out. I need to get on. I need to hang out with the boys. You know what I mean? That drive. I feel like a quarterback at the end of his career. You know, it's like, I don't know if I want to play anymore. And then you kind of start thinking about the roar of the crowd. And you're like, man, one more year.
Hey, Ryan, Kyle from Madison. Hey, I apologize. I forget who it was. Was saying, you know, you should have the artist in your family drop a poster for the back of your van going up there, which is an excellent idea, by the way.
Yeah, not bad.
You could also do the temper paint, like when the high school athletes are going to state.
Yeah.
You know?
Some cheesy
but
drawing with Packernet.
It's short notice, but if you are a graphic artist out there listening and you're going to the draft, man, if you have somebody who can reliably print you some posters, you know, pretty quickly. There are local printers that can usually do it.
Sure.
Like, you know, if you're doing bulk of over 100, 200, you could probably get them for $5 to $6 each. Man,
that's a lot of money.
Start making Green Bay draft posters, the iconography of the area. Get on there, lay that out on your program of choice. I mean, you can, I don't have to tell you what's in that. You can close your eyes and pretty much see what that poster looks like, right? The draft theme, the buildings, the Lombardi statue on one side, Lambeau on the other. It builds itself. But, I mean, I'm not going to be able to get up there because life, but, man, even with my limited graphic design skills, I could whip up that poster. Start selling those $20 a piece. Whew. If you bring 200 posters, you're going to probably sell 200 posters at $20 each in a day and a half. I would buy that poster. No doubt about it. Is it copyright compliant? No. Is anybody going to do anything about that? No.
That's true.
I mean, even if you're doing what, let's just say your expenses, if you're doing 200 posters, you could probably get them you probably get it less than this. Let's say $6, $5. What is that? 20, that's $3,000 profit for a day and a half's work. Yeah. Just saying. Anyway, have fun, all y'all going up there. Take care.
I get what you're saying, and I've been in that position before, where I'm thinking in those terms and getting scolded, like, "Oh, you greedy capitalist jerk! That's not what it's about," and you're taking advantage. It's like, bro, shut up, stupid. The problem is, I don't. Well, I would have to be a single guy to do that. My wife would never let me spend that amount of money. And I know you're not talking about me, but I'm just saying that would never be a thing. And she would also not want me to do that in general. But also, I would be concerned because they're very strict about what you're allowed to bring in. I would just have a feeling they'd search my stuff, see that, and be like, yeah, you're not bringing that in there. And that would ruin everything. And I'd be stuck with all these freaking posters, and I'd be out a couple grand and be pretty unhappy. The only play at that point is to stand outside and try to sell as people come and go, you know? And it would have to be a go thing. You'd have to wait for people to leave, probably drunk, which would work to your advantage. Maybe you'd be pissed, and then at the end you'd walk out with a ton of money. Hopefully you don't get mugged, but it's Green Bay. You'd be better off than a lot of other cities. But yeah, nobody wants to carry that around with them all day, so be better off outside. People are probably doing that, if I had to guess. There's going to be people out there like, you know, scalpers, but not scalpers, that are selling stupid little stuff, you know? I bet that there is. And they're going to be annoying, and I'm not going to be happy about it, and that's what you want me to be, so shame on you. It's a good point, though, and if somebody makes a lot of money, then good for you.
Hey, Ryan, listening to the podcast regarding evaluating the draft process and the teams that have the worst record at drafting in the first round.
Sure.
Reminds me that I had asked a question if you would consider maybe taking all of Gute's drafts and just maybe rating them from best to worst, and with an explanation of why, and just highlighting, like I had asked before, who made it as a starter, who made it as a Pro Bowl, and then also on the flip side, who busted out or who is with another team or even out of the NFL. I just wanted to hear your evaluation on how he's done so far and how his drafts are stacking up. I'm out.
Yeah, well, like you said, I think the podcast I did on that covers that to some degree anyways. At least it kind of brought me to the conclusion that it did, so that would probably just be my answer. And that is essentially, for Gutekunst, he's gotten a lot of starters. I think his track record is you've gotten a bunch of busts, and that's not true. We're not defining bust properly. Bust is people that are like out of the NFL. And some of these guys are not here anymore. No, I get that. I'm talking about they played a year or didn't play at all, or, I mean, these are things that happen, and I don't know if Packer fans recognize that. There are first-round picks that do not get on the field, not because of injuries, like our first-round pick this year, but because they're so bad they don't get on the field, or they end up in prison, or some other crazy nonsense. They died or something, which also occasionally happens. It's not a flaw for the GM. I'm just saying that things happen. But he doesn't really have that. Even you look at Stokes is a terrible pick. Well, yeah, it wasn't great. He also played a lot of football, and there were a lot worse corners than Stokes. He had a pretty decent rookie year. He actually ended this past year doing pretty well. He's not going to get a second contract, right? That's kind of the line of where, you know, if you were to, I guess, grade them or put on different tiers, you have the bottom tier is not Stokes. The bottom tier is they just could not play football, and they couldn't get on the field, and when they did, they were just the worst, and they only did because they were first-round picks, and but they just never really played, and were basically out of the NFL. The other guys are guys that are on the team for 4 years. They're not very good. They don't get a second contract, and they bounce around for other teams. You know, Kevin King is still out there. Kevin King is still out there somewhere doing stuff. I every once in a while I see his name, like, wait, what? Kevin King? That's crazy. He is currently a cornerback for the Falcons. That's like Gutekunst's floor, and there are quite a few of those. Those guys that are, you want them to be superstars. Unfortunately, they maybe give you a good year, maybe they don't, but they're here for 4 years. They're usually starting, maybe not. They don't get the next contract, and they bounce around in the NFL for a long time, getting little chunks of money here and there. From there, you get guys that are borderline, but do end up getting the next contract. You know, they're still disappointing. I wish they were better, but, you know, it's worthwhile giving them another contract. Quay Walker, right? That's presumably Quay will get another contract. He's not a superstar like you wish he was, but he is a starter. He is a mediocre starter, and he will get a second contract while still having the title of disappointment unless he ends up getting better. Again, this is another group that also gets called bust by Packer fans when they're not a bust. And then, you know, up from there, obviously getting mega contracts because they are very good football players. There's probably some gradients to that too, but that's essentially where it's at. And with Gutekunst, I think his floor really is these 4-year starters that don't get a next contract. He doesn't really draft guys that end up worse than that. And a lot of teams do. And so he gets judged based on the top end and basically like, well, how many superstars did you draft? Well, this team over here drafted 1 and you got 0. So that garbage team over there is better than you. It's like, okay, they got 1, but they also had half of their picks in the top 10. And some of them were worse than like all of Gutekunst's picks. We got to have a little context here. You know what I mean? We got to be a little smarter and look at it in its totality. You can say it's disappointing. Don't say bust if it's not a bust. Don't pretend that he's been the worst when you don't even know what everybody else has been doing. I do think it's time for, and this is a terrible year, by the way, I do think it's time for Gutekunst to get that home run first-round pick. I don't know that there are any options. Again, terrible year to find a home run first-round pick, but let's fingers crossed on that. I mean, if he can get a wide receiver that is a stud wide receiver, just checking all the boxes. He crushed the we never draft wide receiver narrative and the he can't draft in the first round narrative all with 1 pick. And maybe that's why there's all these rumors of them jumping up for Tetero and McMillan, and Gutekunst has made that determination like a month ago. He's like, I'm done with it. We're doing it. We're going all the way up. We've made 70 phone calls, and we got the trade package all figured out. We're going up and we're getting them. Just freaking do it, man, you know?
Hey, it's Drew from Green Bay. I was just thinking, what would you think about trading for Pickens? I mean, his contract isn't that big. He's in the last year of it. I think it's like $3 million, something like that. And, you know, if we want a number 1, Pickens can be a number 1. He's a bit of a head case, but, you know, now that Pittsburgh traded for DK Metcalf, it seems like they might want to move on from him. Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting. I think that's a move we could do that could really solidify us. I'm not saying I want to do it. I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest, but it's just potential. I think that's a lot more interesting than Tyreek Hill, that's for sure. So, anyways, thoughts on that? All right, bye.
Well, I mean, I guess my first thought would be I would doubt that they'd be willing to do it. I'm guessing that they brought in DK to be a complement, to be, you know, to get 2 receivers instead of just 1. They had a pretty big investment in him, and it's more or less paid off. I mean, he's a pretty good football player for them. Not the greatest, but he's been pretty decent. If they're wanting to move away from I think, 2nd round pick who's been pretty productive, the head case thing must be pretty serious. And I wouldn't want to deal with it. I can't think of any reason why they would want to get rid of him. And if they did, I think that would be a major red flag. I just am not super interested. I loved him in the draft. I really did. He was one of my top, if not my top receiver in the draft. Really talented guy, but I don't know. I'm at this point I'm kind of glad we didn't draft him. He's just so freaking weird, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to deal with that. We'll see what happens after the draft. I might change my tune depending on what we get done. But All right, I'm going to get out of here. We got 2 calls from Uncle Rico, 3 from Zach in Buffalo. So we got 5 calls here we got to do. It says 6, but did I miss one? I don't know. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.